If you can be happy with not having much, I think that's even better. Because wanting more all the time is a constant stress, I think hardship, I'm quite grateful for experiencing that. I had to go through difficult times, and even if I still do, I think it's just so important because it just gives you perspective on what your life could be. I remember signing up to Fitness First. Actually, I was Fitness First, and the membership was £42, and I was shocked how expensive it was.
Being just 18 and deciding to move away from home has definitely opened a lot of opportunities for today's guests. From working in KFC and not having a clear purpose to now being the co-founder of Delta Fitness, a luxury personal training studio in London. And having won international fitness competitions, Laszlo has quite the story. We touch on the fitness industry and how superficial most of the things are nowadays. Moreover, we discuss about the importance of discipline and the lack of purpose that most men have nowadays. I'll tell you what, guys, this has been an amazing conversation, but I'll leave you to it. So with that said, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Laszlo Baritz.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grateful Show. I hope you guys are doing amazing because we are very fun. Today's guest is no one other than Laszlo Baritz. How are you doing, Laszlo?
Hey guys, thank you. I'm good, thanks. Excited to be on your podcast, and looking forward to this.
Yeah, our pleasure, man. Just to break the ice, what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for is, do you know what? Having the right people in my life. Like, I've got a really good business partner. I'm surrounded by the right people, just people that are ahead of me, more experience, kind of want to see me succeed as well. So I think I'm really grateful for being surrounded by the right people. I think that's one of the main things I would say. Yeah.
Sounds very humble coming from yourself. I mean, knowing you and your story and what you've been through, seeing that you're surrounded by people that are better than you, it's something. But for our audience that obviously don't really know what you do and what you're about, can you briefly jump into your story and tell us how you've come to be where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I came to the UK in 2012, so I just turned 18. Obviously, I'm from Transylvania, so for some people that don't know where that's in Romania, it's a Hungarian region. And I just turned 18, finished school, came to Romania, came to UK, London, and started working at KFC. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to get out of the country, just pursue a career of something, but I just wanted to see what my options are. I started working at KFC, started training already back in Romania for 2 years at a time. So I came to London, working at KFC, started training at LA Fitness myself. And then just a PT came up to me asking what I do for a living. I'm like, well, I'm just working at KFC. He's like, maybe you should consider becoming a personal trainer. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Then I enrolled for a PT course, started studying for my PT. 1 year later, I graduated as a PT, started working as a trainer, and I started competing at the same time with Miami Pro. And then I started working as a trainer. It was 2 different gyms for 4 years. I was working at Reebok. At the same time, I was competing at Miami Pro. So I won my first show. Well, actually, first 3 shows, I placed second every single time.
Wow.
And then on the 4th show, I came first, and then overall. And it's been kind of a long journey. And that's how I met you as well, of course, through fitness, because it's kind of a small industry, which is quite good. And then 2 years ago, opened my own PT studio. Met my business partner, who was actually my client at the time. So I got some really good results for him. And I've always been more specialized in the whole body transformation type of niche training. So that's kind of really elevated me onto the next platform, which is just to open up my studio. And now I got my own studio in Canary Wharf, got 3 trainers, and just trying to grow that business really. Long story short.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amazing, man. Yeah, what made you switch from Romania to UK?
Honestly, like the opportunities. Like, I'm sure you guys know as well. We got family members. I got family members that started working as a cashier in like just a normal shop, and they're still doing the same role, shift. 20 years later, there's just no level of progression. Unfortunately, there's just not that many in smaller cities. At least I'm sure, like in Bucharest and Târgu and Cluj, and it's like places that are bigger. There's more to that. My town there's population of 20,000. There's nothing to do there really.
Was it the decision just of yourself to move out of the country, or were your parents like telling you should do something else, maybe you should leave the country? Was it just yourself thinking of that?
I mean, I was always going to leave, but my stepdad is actually Scottish and my mom's an English teacher. So I already speaking English pretty much like, I won't say native level when I was like 12 or 13. So I always knew that with that, I've always have an advantage going abroad. So I always planned going abroad. And my mom was actually living in London when I moved out. So it was kind of nice that she was living here already. Yeah.
Was the transition hard for you to come in a new country? New people, new language.
Initially, it was extremely hard. I think I was crying for the first 2 weeks. I was literally crying in bed. I just hated it so much because it was just a big cultural shock. It was just so different. And at the time, I had a girlfriend and obviously had to go long distance. And, you know, when you're 18, you're still like, what do you know? Like, it's just, it's just that kind of... It's completely new. And I think London is a bit of a cultural shock for people that come here initially.
Yeah.
I think so.
You were mentioning that at a time you started working for KFC, but you met this personal trainer. So I'm assuming you were already training, or was that when you started going to the gym, when you moved to London?
Yes, I was already training 2 years in Romania before I came to London. And then, I carried on training here. That's why I remember signing up to Fitness First. Actually, I was Fitness First, and the membership was £42, and I was shocked how expensive it was. Whereas now I'm like, I don't think it's that expensive. But at the time, I was just so shocked how expensive the gym membership was. And that's where I met this trainer called Pete Howell. Actually, big shout out to him because he was the one who was just like, "Oh, why are you not doing this? Because all my clients want to look like you, and you got potential." So I was like, okay,
But how about the competition? Like, how did you get interested in competing? Was it something inside you, or you saw someone else competing and you thought that it might be suitable for you?
I think it's like kind of all of us, isn't it? When you do something really seriously and you're committed to the process and you're like really dedicated. So you're already training, you're already dieting, you're already doing pretty much everything that people compete do, right? Maybe not as on a bigger scale or on a smaller scale. And then you just like, well, if I'm already putting in the work and effort, then I might as well just take it to the next level, see what my body can look like and how I can perform really well. So I think it's the element that you're already doing it. Like if you take an extra 10%, 15% more work, and then you can actually compete. And I just started doing it because of that. Yeah.
And you have quite some experience with competing in this industry, but you said that you're not willing to compete anytime sooner. Is there a reason why?
You know what? I'm not going to say I'm never going to compete again, because there are some, I would probably do WBFF if any other show I would like to do is probably WBFF. But I feel like the industry has given me the insight to see what it's all about. And it's just an expensive hobby. It's great, but it's not really taking anywhere unless you like taking a ton of gear and you like the top 10 or top 20 or top 30 in whichever category in the world. You're not really going to make that much money as a career choice, right? So there's a ton of people that get into competing thinking they do a show, and I've been there. I remember the first show I won, and it's great, boss. Don't get me wrong, like you get all the attention, but you think your life is about to change, and then 1 week later, it just all kind of fizzles out, and you're back to reality, and you're like, oh, actually, this wasn't as life changing as I expected it to be. And you got to go back to work. You got to pay for the show. It's an expense. It's an expensive hobby. I just put it like it's a bit like playing golf for rich people or whatever you want to call it. But it's just an expensive hobby. It's not a way to earn a livelihood long term and preserve your health as well. So that's why I'm not too interested right now in pursuing that avenue. And I'm sure everyone that competes eventually realizes that. So for some people, it takes longer than others. I got to admit that I've seen too many people try over and over and over again, thinking that this trophy is going to change their lives. But again,
I think it's worth mentioning to people, you mentioned actually that the health is involved as well. And most people, when they see competitors on a stage or like on magazine on magazines, they're like, oh my God, I want to look like him. Like, he's so shredded, he's so big. Like, I want to be like that. But I would say 99% of the people don't even can comprehend what it actually takes to get into that shape. Like, they don't even realize that that shape is probably only kept by that person for like 24 hours because they are completely dried. They are completely like 5, 6, 7% body fat, and that's not sustainable for not even a week, I would say, for some people. What would you say about this to people that don't know anything about it?
I would say, I was having a similar conversation the other day about getting results, and sometimes people just say, oh, I just want to look like you, and they don't realize actually last week, Monday, was 10 years that I've been training. Now I'm 26. And it's easy to just overlook, just be like, oh, I just want this or just want that or just want a quick fix. Those guys have not got in shape in 12 weeks. We all know that, right? They might claim that they've done a fat loss journey, but that guy was probably training for 6-7 years to accumulate the muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And yes, maybe he dropped body fat from 15 or 16% to 7% in 12 weeks, but that physique was not acquired like that. And unfortunately, that is a fitness industry. It's a very vain and superficial industry. So it's all based on looks, and people want to be sold the dream. Really, that is what it comes down to. And when they see pictures like that, they want to buy into that, but they don't understand what they're actually buying into. Because if someone said you need 8 years to build this physique, no one's going to commit to that, right? Like, no one's going to be like, actually, let me just get started today, and in 8 years' time, I'll be happy to get the results. Everyone just wants it now, and that's the kind of world we live in right now, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's also worth mentioning that with all the disadvantages, like the health effects and everything that you have to sacrifice in order to get into that shape, I think you're the best person to ask, how has competing and fitness as well after impacted your career choice, your life? Because obviously it requires, I would say, a thick skin first and foremost, and also a different level of mindset, a different mindset. So how has that impacted your whole life as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I finished school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with myself. So getting into training and fitness and seeing myself succeed, that was the first time in my life that I could excel at something that I thought I was really good at. So it definitely boosted my confidence. But I think the discipline was also another thing, just the day in and day out. And I see you post a lot about consistency and persistency and being persistent in, doing things day in and day out. And that's really what it comes down to. I think there's a lot of discipline factor in getting a good physique. You've got to be disciplined. And if you can be disciplined to that, I think you can take those same attributes into your daily life and use the same utilities or whatever you want to call it, and just implement the same thing. And at the end of the day, if you're putting in work, you're going to get something out of it. Like where energy, where energy flows, results come. So, yeah.
Indeed. I was just curious, what are your future plans?
Oh, I mean, right now, my biggest goal is to get this studio maxed out, get all the right trainers in, get the best team going, and just have a really good team to be delivering the best results. So we are very, very specific in Canary Wharf, and I'm actually really proud of the team that we have and the results, that we're delivering. Because just to think sometimes that people just spend their money, their hard-earned money in our studio, and they decide to take our services because they see the value in that is already a big step. And I'm quite grateful for that. But my long-term goal would be probably to have my own gym and just take it on a bigger scale. That's pretty much it. Have a bigger place and just more equipment, just more members, have a proper full-on public gym, really.
Yeah, very nice. And why, like in a nutshell, are you doing like all of these things?
Why am I doing it?
Yeah. Was it like a dream since you were young, or it's just like the lifestyle that you want to?
No, I mean, even if 5 years ago you asked me what I wanted to do long term, I could have told you. But I think there came a point in my life when I was 21 or 22, and I was already working at Third Space, or before Third Space, it was actually Reebok. And it was the biggest gym in Europe I was already working at. And I was just thinking, am I willing to wake up at 5:30 a.m. and finish at 9 p.m. every single day between now and, age of 50? Because that is really the career choice you're making as a personal trainer if you one-on-one PT. And I don't think people really think about that, because I see trainers that, late 40s, they're still doing these hours. And it's just not realistic, because again, I mentioned the industry is very superficial. So people want to train with people that are already in good shape, preferably even good looking. It sells. And when you get a bit older and you're getting out of shape, it's harder to maintain. You've got a family. The last thing you want to be doing is getting up for a 6 a.m. client and finishing at 9 p.m. And that's when I started thinking what I could do to think of the future, how I could establish myself in terms of not having to do that, but have a team of people that will be doing that. And I can still take my experience and pass it on and make it into a business, really. Yeah. So it's just about longevity. The reason I'm doing it is just thinking ahead in the future.
It's so good you realize this at such a young age, because as you mentioned already, there are so many people that have been doing it for years, and they don't really realize that they're gonna be stuck there until they retire, really. But I wanted to dive a bit into not necessarily the business side of things, but the way you interact with your clients and the way you being able to basically build up clients. I see with a lot of PTs nowadays. I'm not saying that they don't look a certain way. I'm not saying that most of them kind of know everything about nutrition and how to train clients to be able to get them results. But most of them, I see them not having the right mindset when it comes to interaction, and to actually, when it comes to making the client feel like they are safe, to make them feel like their time is appreciated, their monies are appreciated. Basically, they don't really know how to make the client feel good whilst they're training.
Yeah. Just a quick note on just something you said previously at the end of the last comment. I was just going to say that there's nothing wrong with people wanting to PT for 20 or 30 or 40 years. The same way there's nothing wrong with someone just wanting to work in corporate 9 to 5 for 20 or 30 years. Because not everyone can be in the entrepreneurial and, just focusing on building your own business mindset. It's extremely stressful. So obviously I'm talking about what I'm doing right now, but no one sees the behind the scenes. And as you guys been doing with the podcast, I'm sure a lot of people get into doing podcasts thinking there's going to be 100 or 1,000 people watching the podcast, but you got to actually really work on why would people want to come and watch you guys, Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with people not doing that. Just I want to say it's not that I'm looking down on trainers that are not willing to open their own business is bad. By all means, it's not for everyone. I think owning a business is just a very handful of people. And even myself, I question myself sometimes if I'm going through hard periods, if it is the right decision to do. But of course, I just sold myself out in the head and I'm fine. But I just wanted to say that it's not that everyone's supposed to be running their own business and everyone's supposed to be an entrepreneur, because it isn't for everyone. There's a lot of risks and stress that comes with it, and you just never really get a day off from it. Once you got one, you got to keep going with it. And in terms of your question, I would say the biggest problem with a lot of trainers, and I kind of had this conversation with you before you were kind of looking into getting into this whole media and filming and all that stuff. And my biggest takeaway, my experience when I go into PT is I used to think that I'm going to be training people that are like me, or like yourself, like either of you. I would be expecting my typical client to come in and be like, yeah, I'm ready to bang out a big chest sesh, and it's actually not the case. Trainers get into it thinking because they enjoy training themselves and got good results for themselves, that is the same training themselves as other people. And it's it couldn't be any further away from truth, because it's not. Your average client does have no idea. They can barely walk up, on stairs. So you got to teach them how to actually use their muscles, break everything down. So you got to completely step away from your bodybuilding training and break it all down, regress it a lot more, simplify it for people that are completely not into fitness. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to clients. You gotta change your mindset and look at that client that, okay, so this person's never been to the gym. How do I start training this person? And what, instead of taking them on the bench press, someone who's like 35, had just had 2 kids, a C-section, and you're just making them do heavy bench press. Yeah. You got to be able to adapt your knowledge, and that's where experience comes in as well.
Mm-hmm. First, you got to understand the mindset behind what you should do and why you should do things, and then actually understand if you want to go to the certain level, to your level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not, again, it depends how good a trainer you want to be. I see, again, you guys keep posting a lot about investing in yourself, in further education and stuff. And I always believe if you invest in yourself and you got more knowledge and you're delivering results faster and better, you can charge more. And it just, you get what you put in. If you're not investing in yourself, and I see a lot of, because I've interviewed a lot of trainers, right? And I see CVs. I get someone in for an interview. I've got, this person has 10 years experience, and I just ask them some basic questions on like tracking progress, or how do you deal with demotivated clients complaints, all that stuff. And by the end of the interview, I'm like, this person's got 1 year experience, but he's done it 10 times over because he's not developed himself whatsoever. There's been no further education. There's been no further developments. So there's a lot of people like that, and in every industry there are, but with PT even more from what I've seen. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning about investment. I heard this quote, or I read it somewhere, and it stood with me. When you are not willing to invest in yourself or in your business, how can you actually expect other people to invest in you, to buy from you, to buy your service or to buy your product? Because in the first place, if you don't invest in yourself or in your business, it means you don't have the confidence that you have what it takes. Therefore, you got to transmit that to the people that you are trying to target, that you are trying to transform into clients.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm 100% with that. Yeah.
You're talking about the development and how most people, like, obviously they do their PT course or whatever, it could be anything in any industry. And from there, they just plateau and they don't learn anything else. What would be like some top advices that you would give to those people? Where should they be looking for knowledge, or how should they even start? Because like most of them they're not even aware that they don't have what it takes to go to the next level. They think that it just might happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone that is watching this podcast in that situation that they think they know it all, I would say, have a look at your clients and have a look how many results you've actually given, how your clients are progressing, right? So take all your clients in the last 3 months. Have they made any level of progress? Yes or no? And you find a lot of trainers that are going to be no. And they're probably going to come up with excuses. Oh, this person's got knee pain and that person's got back pain and that person's, he can't eat carbs and she can't do this. And so finding excuses for the client. So if you're one of those trainers, just first be honest with yourself and just ask yourself, are you really giving the best service for whatever that client is paying for? And if the answer is yes, great. Then that means your clients are getting results, or, unless you're delusional, that could happen. But if the answer is just even you're doubting yourself, that's when you got to look into, like people like M10, a bit more calls, just get some coaching, get some mentoring in. Look at what courses there are around. Let that be sports nutrition, whatever you're interested in. Field learning, hypertrophy coaches, whatever you're interested in. Just look into that. And most trainers in London, they charge for £50 to £60 an hour. And one of these courses that you can go away in a weekend and get a lot of knowledge, will cost maybe £450, £500 an hour a weekend. And that will see you through a long way, at least I would say 6 to 12 months, which you can take that knowledge, implement it with your clients, and then again, invest a bit more in because you can charge a bit more or you're a bit more busier, and you can just keep reinvesting that to the point where you just have to work maybe 15, 20 hours because your rates are so high. But yeah, just be honest with yourself, But nowadays, I know that everyone thinks they're doing amazing and perfect, and now you can't really make people, you can't point them out their problems. And I think especially with PTs, it's a very, I don't want to say it's a stuck up industry, but everyone's got a lot of ego, anyone that's into this type of this industry. I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people have very big egos, and it's hard to break them down.
Going back to the times when you were competing, you mentioned you competed 4 times. Obviously, both me and Bogdan have been through like preps and know what it's all about, especially mentally and physically. Was there a time when you've been into like a very dark place mentally, when you were just questioning everything and didn't really know if you want to compete or not, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I've competed in total 8 times now. So
8 times.
yeah, 8 in total. You know what? I'm sure you had this exact same thing. When you're doing it, you're going through the motions. And as you come down to 2-3 weeks in, you just think to yourself, what the hell was I thinking? Like, I'm sure you guys have this. You're like, what was going through my mind when I was like thinking to do this, right? And then my second thought is, if I'm going to win this show or whatever it happens, I'm not going to do it again. And then a year or two down the road, you're like, actually, I'm kind of ready to do something, because it's nice to have a goal. Same for our clients, they have an end goal of going on a wedding, fitting into a dress, whatever. And when you're training just day in and day out, having an end goal is just as important as for anyone else, right? You got to see something you're heading to. So in terms of having a dark place, I wouldn't say I had, but I would say the mindset is extremely important of how much you actually believe in yourself. And the amount of work you put in, how much, you got to be realistic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say, how basketball players, we all know that they're 6'5" and over, right?
Yeah.
So if you're 5'9", and no matter how hard you're training, you're still expecting to be a good basketball trainer, that's not going to happen. So you got to be realistic on your goals, because I feel like a lot of people do compete and they kind of think that, again, it's a game changer because they've done some training and leaning out. So you got to be realistic. I think you got to, being honest with yourself is just the most important thing, I would say.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. In other order of ideas, I'm just going to change a little bit the subject, and I'm going to ask you, what experience are you the most grateful for?
Oh, good question. That is a good question. I would say, hardship, just hard times. Growing up, my mom was a single mom as well. And I would just say, just going through hard periods of time when I was younger, I think that instilled a bit of hunger in me. And just, I think hardship, I'm quite grateful for experiencing that. I had to go through difficult times. And even if I still do, I think it's just so important, because it just gives you perspective on what your life could be and why you want to make it better. And it makes you appreciate life a bit more. So I would say, I would never thought I would have said this, but I think I'm grateful for just having endured hard times and overcome that. I'd say, yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because I think both me and Bogdan are quite aware of like the Stoics and Stoicism as a whole, as a movement, as an idea. But in my opinion, and I'm very interested to know yours, is nowadays people are getting more and more comfortable. And that's not only because of themselves, but it's obviously because of how we are wired to function. Like if you look at things such as Amazon Prime, Netflix, and everything that is available to us through like a simple click, I'm not even gonna dive into like alcohol or drugs or pornography. Everything is so accessible that like it makes it very hard for us to not want to seek more pleasure and more comfort. And like I was speaking to some people a few weeks ago, and I was mentioning them that cold showers for me have literally become something normal, and they were like, how can you say that? And I'm like, well, I've been taking cold showers for like 2 years now. It's not like uncomfortable anymore. And they couldn't even perceive the thought, the idea that they could ever do that themselves, because they find it so uncomfortable. Well, how do you feel about this whole situation with the society nowadays, seeking pleasure?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not for the cold showers for my personal self, but I respect the fact that you do it and the discipline that it must take. Initially, I'm sure initially it was hard, and then it became, one of those things that is kind of part of your daily habit, right? You just get used to it, like anything. You know what? You got a valid point, because everything is so accessible and so easy. Like Deliveroo, Netflix, whatever you want, food, taxi, anything is just right there. And you're right. I think it does become a bit harder to be more motivated to come up with something to do. And I mean, to be honest, that was one of my fears. Like not having purpose, I think, is one of the biggest threats for men in the 21st century. I genuinely believe that. I think not having a clear purpose or a clear vision or a goal that you want for your life, I think that's the biggest threat for men our age or all the generations to come. I think that's one of the biggest things, because 200 years ago, you had to go make sure you provided food or whatever you had to do, but you always had roles to fulfill.
Yeah.
Whereas now you go through the education system, you're just going to go to work. Like you don't really have to do it. It's not a must do. You can survive by begging or whatever. There are ways around it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you got a valid point there. I genuinely don't know what a lot of people are going to do and how to self-motivate themselves, because it is becoming more challenging by all means, 100%. Yeah.
You mentioned that it's important to have a purpose, and I'm very curious to know your thoughts on this. Do you think that one should find his purpose or her purpose, or should they create their purpose? Is purpose something that we find or something that we give meaning to ourselves?
Good question. I think, again, I've got to refer back a little bit to you, because obviously I've been following you for ages. And you're also a Gary Vee advocate, right?
Yeah.
And I do like a lot of the things that he says. I'm not completely on board with everything. But when it comes to the whole purpose subject, I do like the fact that he says you got to just try shit. You just got to try stuff out. And only then you know what you like once you've tried a few things, right? And I think it's a bit like that with relationships or anything in life, right? The more you try, the more you know what you really want, right? Like you have maybe 5 different relationships with 5 different girls, and they're all very different, but there's going to be one thing that you like about one person in particular. And maybe for that 6th relationship, that's what you're exactly going to see, right? So I think it's kind of similar with just trying things and figuring out what you really want to do. And when you figure out what you want to do, I guess you know, but you won't know until you try things, right? And I think a lot of people just get stuck in one thing that they do because they invest their time. You know, if you've done a degree in finance and you've done 4 years of university in finance, you just don't want to throw that away and get into something else. And that's fair. But if you're not happy, it's like saying in a relationship that you're not happy, you got to just go and try do something else, right? You can't just stay for the sake of staying, but just complacency.
Yeah, completely agree. We were talking previously about pleasures and about how everybody's just trying to I don't know, just achieve the pleasures, but not make themselves happier. What are some top things that people can do to be happier?
I think personally, I would say, again, just appreciate your journey that you're on. If you're on a journey, of course, which obviously most people are, but just reflect on things, how your life could be. You know, if you're where you want to be, just be grateful for that, because there's going to be a lot of people that are not in the same position or would love to be in your position. You know, I know a lot of people that would love to be, even if you're just having a physique, you know, how many people would love to have a physique that you have? You know, a lot more, probably. There's a ton of people that would love to have the physique that you have, right? So be grateful that the effort you're putting in and the results that you're reaping for that. And in terms of happiness, man, I'm still figuring it out. You know, I think it's a constant state of just your mindset and just being appreciative, trying to enjoy living in the moment. You know, lately, I've made just one thing, last 2 weeks, I've just cut down my Instagram time massively, because I was averaging like an hour and 20 minutes on just scrolling through Instagram mindlessly. And do you know what? I just read this book by, actually it's right here, Carl Newport. Yeah, it's called Digital Minimalism. And he just writes about just cutting down on social media and just stuff that is not really getting you ahead. Yeah. So I started just experimenting with it. And first day, I just put my phone down, and I found every time I had just 1 minute spare, the first thing I did, took my phone out, and it's like, wanted to go on Instagram. And I was like, it's just a habit. I don't need to do it. There's nothing I'm getting out of it. It's absolutely nothing I'm getting out of it, right? And just doing that, I've managed to read an extra book every 3 days, as opposed to before. I'm at the moment doing one book a week. That's my rule. If I can read a book a week, I'm happy with that. And just saving probably 4.5, 5 hours a week on mindless, stupid scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, you know, that already saved me and makes me feel better about myself. You know, so coming back to happiness, it's about just having a bit of discipline, a bit more fulfillment. I'm sure if you look into it, it's all about the dopamine as well, right? That's taking it a bit further, but it's just constant, that dopamine hit we're getting from social media or just the phone. And I feel like finishing a book, I get a massive, massive dopamine orgasm, if you want to say. Just I feel so good because I feel like I've done something, I've read something, I've learned something, and I become a bit more, as opposed to just looking at booty pics and, you know, people flexing there and stuff. And just the way I see it. I've been there as well. So I think happiness is just, I'm still figuring it out. I can't really give advice on that. Sorry.
Couldn't agree more. And I'm really curious, what would be top 3 books that you will recommend to our audience?
Top 3 books. I've literally got my book stacks in front of me. I would say a really good one I've read was by Felix Dennis. It's called How to Get Rich. So anyone that's entrepreneurial, I would say it's a really good book. And it's not one of those, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or, there's a lot of self-development books and they're kind of just repeating themselves. It's not really,
Yeah.
you know what, a lot of the times you find people giving these advices and writing these books, people that are not extremely successful. They become successful from selling these books, but beforehand they've never really had any experience with real hand-on success. So I can't really take that advice from someone. It's like a fat person telling someone how to get fit. I can't really take that on board as well, right? So I would say, How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. Recently I read this Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. That was a really good book. I thought that again helps me to just make sure I go to bed a bit earlier. And man, I've read so many books lately. Have you read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins?
No, but I heard about it.
Amazing.
I've listened to it, the audiobook. It is quite interesting. It's like a conversation.
I mean, if you can read the book, it's amazing. I would say it's my top one books. It's about mindset and training. Definitely 100%. If there's one book I could take with me on an island, I would take that book. Definitely. Like, it is amazing. It's just about mindset. It's really good. Really good.
David Goggins actually is amazing. He's just this beast who's never stopped doing things.
Yeah. He's the one who came up with the term of callousing the mind, by just being so strong mentally. And if you can do that mentally, then physically you're fine. So yeah, but again, I read lots of different books. I read fiction, self-help, just a bit of everything, scientific stuff. I mix it up because if I just read one type of book, I'm going to get bored.
Laszlo, what should be the main reason for people to actually read books? Because I can see, and it's a good thing, obviously, that people just started to realize that reading is important. But for some of them, I don't know, they're just reading because it's cool or because it's nice to put on your Instagram bio. I read one book a week. Why? Or what should be the reason you are going to start a book, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, me personally, not many people know that about me. It's just my side thing, right? I'm not going on Instagram trying to show up because that's doing it for me.
Yeah.
So I would say for books, get into it for yourself and just stop trying to do things for other people's approval. That's just stupid. It's just completely pointless. So if you're not enjoying reading the books, then don't get into reading a book, right? But last December, I think it was like around 17th or 18th. I actually clearly remember. I've not read a book in like a year. And I used to read quite a lot beforehand. And it just kind of slipped away because it's one of those things that you do need to allocate some time to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to start tomorrow and just start reading 5 pages in the morning, 5 pages in the evening. And then but keep that consistent. So I'll not get 10 pages, just 5 pages. And in week 1, I managed to do that. And in week 2, I was getting into this book. It was actually, I think, a David Goggins or Tyson Fury autobiography. I can't remember. And 10 pages and 15 pages. And I really enjoyed it. I was just really enjoying reading someone's story, their life experiences. And it was just more fulfilling than watching a movie on Netflix or just scrolling through Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I still do both. But the ratio is now not social media and movies and video games here and self-education and books here, but it's more like that now, So I'm much more happier doing that. So yeah, if you want to get into reading, just do it because you want to better yourself and you want to have more understanding of things. And just in general, it comes down to discipline. It's that stoic mindset of just being able to control yourself and disciplining yourself to do 5 or 10 minutes or 1 hour a day of something that you might not want to do, but that will actually help you to get further ahead in the long term.
Couldn't agree more. You were mentioning about How to Get Rich, the book, and I was very interested to know your opinion on the following question, and that is being rich something selfish? Do you consider being rich as being something selfish? Obviously, I'm talking about financially rich.
I mean, if you do it the right way, I don't see what's wrong with it. If you're not ripping off people and selling scams and stuff like that, I think it's just like anything else. Why do you want to be the best football player on the planet? Or why do you want to be the best basketball player on the planet? Like, why do you want to be rich? I think it comes out to the same thing. I don't see anything selfish with it. If you're a good person, I don't think it matters. You could be rich or poor, but if you want to be rich and you're willing to do it the right way, then by all means, I don't see what's wrong with it. Like, yeah. Well, are there any objections from people?
Well, a lot of people think that obviously most of them are poor and they're not in a very good financial position, but most of them think that money is the root of all evil and money should be avoided, and you don't need a lot of money to be happy. And this is obviously the message that has been portrayed upon us by generation after generation, and it's been like ingrained in our blood to not want more money.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it just comes down to what life you want to lead. You know, if you want to be one of those people that just has a normal life and just want to do the basic things, you don't want to travel, you don't want to do extra stuff, great. You know, I'm happy. Like, if you can be happy with not having much, I think that's even better. Because wanting more all the time is a constant stress, you know, having to achieve stuff day in and day out. It's a grind. It's a constant grind, you know. We could all be just playing video games right now. But I was like, this podcast is my first one. And if I can improve my speaking and just getting a bit more insight on what you guys see and how you see things, and if I can just get 0.5% better after this experience, that's even better. So, but if I didn't have anything to accomplish or wanted to do, I probably wouldn't be bothered. I'd be just like, well, it's kind of, I'm all right with doing what I'm doing. So I think being rich, you know what, if you're willing to put the work in and, you know, you're adding to people's life and you're adding value, then by all means, all the companies that are super successful, you know, Facebook and Uber and all these, they're adding value to people's lives in one way or another. So the money is deserved. It's not given for free.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Laszlo, I was just curious, what are the things that you want to be remembered for?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Do you know what? I'm still in the mindset. I'm still thinking if I want to be one of those people that want to be remembered for something, or do I just want to be quiet and enjoy my life and just doing my thing? And that's probably the reason probably I stopped using Instagram. I've not posted much. It's kind of a vanity project, you know, and I've got a bit bored of just posting pictures of myself. Hey guys, here I am with my six pack, you know, living life. I post when I'm traveling because I enjoy travel posts and stuff like that. I've got time as well to do it. But yeah, I'm still thinking. But if I was to be remembered for anything, I think to leave the message behind how important discipline is and consistency, just being persistent at things. I think if I can somehow get that message out there somehow. But again, I'm not too bothered right now. Like, I don't want to sound selfish, but I'm just minding my own business and trying to get on with my life personally right now.
Yeah, that's a very good one, because nowadays I believe that just everybody just wants to be remembered for something, and they are very concerned about those things that they don't even like live their lives. They're just trying to leave a footprint, but they are not really happy with what they do. 100%. So they're just existing there. They're not actually living.
Yeah, but I think those people are not true to themselves. I don't think they're honest to not only to their fans or the people that are following them. They're not true to themselves, you know. So how can you be happy when you're constantly pretending to be someone that you're actually not?
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, it's great. Who doesn't want to be remembered, and who doesn't want to be maybe famous and have all of that stuff? But what are you getting out of it? You know, even fame's got its downsides. You know, when you can't even go and secretly, I don't know, just go to a bowling alley and play with friends because you get every move followed. Like, people just see the good side of things, but no one ever looks at the bad sides of things. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and let's be honest, if you are going to be remembered for how long are you going to be remembered for? Maybe 10 years, 100 years? You got to really have like a really, really big impact to be remembered in 1,000, 2,000 years, like Julius Caesar or, I don't know, any other personality which was very big. So you'd better just live your life and live the best life that you can have.
But I'll be dead anyway. So how will I remember me or not? It doesn't matter. Like, you know, as much as I would like people to remember me, I won't know any better. I'll be dead. No one will. Like, what is that going to add to my life right now, knowing that people going to remember me when I'm? How is that going to take my life any further ahead or make me happier? It's not. Like, if you remember me, remember me. If you don't remember me, I'll be dead. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll be dead. We have literally no idea if you're talking about me, if you're remembering me or you don't remember me. It may make no difference to me.
Talking about death, did you want to ask something, Bogdan?
No,
I'm
go
asking,
ahead.
do you guys agree with that, or am I just looking at it in a completely different way?
I agree with it in the sense that it doesn't really matter whether you have an impact or not after you die, but at the same time, you could look at it in the way that obviously you mentioned persistence and discipline. You could look at it from the angle that you live your life the way you want, and in a way, the values that you value, basic discipline and consistency, will be attributed to your character. And after you die, people will see you as being that person that was disciplined and consistent. But like without even you trying to do that or trying to prove yourself being disciplined, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Again, I'm viewing things like this at 26. If you ask my views 6 years ago, it would be completely different then. So I'm not going to say that in maybe 10 years' time, I'm not going to strive to do that, right? Mm-hmm. I'm reading literally right now by Mark Randolph, the first CEO and the co-founder of Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure when they were founding Netflix and the whole process was going through, he wasn't thinking about leaving. He was thinking about revolutionizing the industry and obviously doing something big. I'm sure he wasn't doing it for the sake of writing a book and then inspiring everyone else. He was doing it because that's what he believed and he wanted to do. So I think the rest is just kind of the byproduct. If you do become successful and you do get that platform to give back, I think by all means do it. But trying to be successful for the sole purpose of telling people how you did it, I don't think that's the right way to go. Or just becoming successful so that people can see that you're successful and try and find out how you did it is not really the main incentive. I think shouldn't be. Yeah, but I get your point. I get your point. By all means, absolutely, yeah.
We were talking about death and about living the life true to yourself. And I was wondering, would you consider being immortal as something selfish? Like, let's say you could be living forever. Would you say that's something selfish?
I don't think it's selfish. If you want to live forever, and yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, me personally, I would say probably no. Like maybe I would like another 10 years on my 20s extra. That'd be nice. But I would say immortal is just probably pushing it. Like, you got to accept that we got one life. Maybe we reincarnate or whatever. But this lifetime, we got this time and we got to make the most of it. And as long as I keep asking myself, am I doing the most with my time? Because this is what time I'm not going to get back. And I love the post the other day. You had something about time and I can't recall exactly what it was.
Yeah, you can get money back, but you can never get time back.
Yeah, loved it. It's so true, isn't it? It's just I could definitely relate to that. So being immortal. If you want to be immortal and if you can be and you're happy with that, do it. I mean, not sure how long can you really enjoy things, right? Because everything kind of wears off quickly. You get a new car. A month later, you're already kind of bored of it, right? You get a new house, you probably another one. It's just how long are you going to keep accumulating things and trying new things? There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta enjoy the progress, like the journey, as cliche as it sounds. Because let's say that you win the lottery, the biggest prize. Yeah, you're gonna be happy for I don't know how long, 2, 3, 4 months with the lifestyle, but after that, it just fades away because we just get used to things, like you said, and you just get bored. So by actually succeeding with small steps, you would actually understand the whole reason behind having the small things and enjoying them, and then bigger and bigger and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like if you were to look at it from the sense of we are here for limited time, like you were mentioning about Gary Vaynerchuk a few minutes ago, he's one that constantly says you've got one life, so you better be living it. So imagine that you are immortal. Let's just suppose that you are immortal. How are you actually going to give your 100% intent to everything when you know that you have unlimited time, or whatever time will be here as humans, you'll be always forever living? So how are you going to actually stress yourself out?
It's a bit like when people get gym equipment at home. It's exactly the same. They always I'm just going to get some equipment at home. You're never going to train at home. Until this whole lockdown happened, people had equipment at home all the time. But because it's always there and it's always accessible, you always be, I'll do it later. I'll do it in an hour's time. I'll do it in 2 hours' time. I'll do it tomorrow morning. I'll do it tomorrow evening. Like it's always there and it's accessible, but that's the main reason you're not going to do it. So if you've got unlimited time, what is the pressure? Why would you have to be pressurizing yourself to do something? You don't, right?
Yeah. Laszlo, I'm just going to change a little bit the subject, and I'm going to ask you, what's one thing that you would change about yourself in this moment?
It's a big question. Damn. One thing. Do you know what? Like, if there's one thing that I could have a bit more of, and I would like to have more of, is just to be even more disciplined, have more minds, just be more powerful with my mindset, of sticking to things I want to do a bit more. Because I still get distracted quite easily. If, Friday evening, finish work, I'll be working all week, really tired. I feel like I should be doing work and stuff like that. But, one of my mates, do you want to play Age of Empires? I'm like, I have been working really hard all week, so let me just play a bit of video games, And I feel like I have to find the balance between enjoying my life and also getting to where I want to be. So I think probably just sticking with what I'm doing constantly, being disciplined even more is what I would have more of. I don't think, I'm not sure I think I'm doing all the right things I'm supposed to. And maybe just surrounded by even more people that are more successful than me, I would say. Yeah.
Coming this from you is very humbling, because we both know how disciplined you are, because you, like you said, you've been through 8 competitions. So you gotta be very disciplined in order to actually get to from A to Z with this whole competition, and with the things that you do, not just with the competition.
Yeah.
Obviously, you already mentioned that you cut your Instagram time, which I think is a very huge deal. Like, if you were to ask me, I'm now probably spending about, I got it this morning, I've spent roughly 5.5 hours on my phone each day. Obviously, that's not just mindless scrolling, but I could say that at least 1.5 hours is just spent like on things that don't really get me ahead. So by simply just cutting your Instagram time, I really respect you for being able to.
Do you know what? If you're spending 1 hour a day on Instagram, right? That's 24 hours a month, right? So that's one day, really. That's 12 days worth a year where you're just spending endlessly, right? And now most people are averaging 3 to 4 hours a day, right? So there are people out there that are spending a month, a year, just scrolling on Instagram, liking pictures, commenting on stupid stuff, watching silly videos and stupid videos. And it's such a big distraction. And what are you getting out of it? What are you actually getting out of it? I think for you, it's a bit different. For you guys, it's a bit different because, you got your podcasts and you're an online platform. So again, if you're using Instagram and Facebook to promote your business and solely for promoting your business, right? And getting the contacts in, and we wouldn't have, because you got each other's phone numbers, because I probably set this up. But if I didn't know you and you didn't know me and you wanted to get in touch with me, probably Instagram would have been the main platform to cross over. So I think it's a bit different on your side. But again, just be honest with yourself. Out of these 5 hours, how many hours am I actually spending on doing what I'm supposed to be doing for my research, for the podcast? What questions should I be asking on my next podcast? Who am I watching? Am I watching valuetainment? Who's doing better interviews? Are you watching stuff that is going to get you ahead? Or you're just watching stuff that is complete clatter? It's just not helping you. So I think just be honest with yourself. Which one are you doing? And if you're just happy wasting time, then carry on doing it. That's what, if it makes you happy, fine. But it wasn't making me happier.
Whoever would say that it's making them happier is the same thing. I don't want anyone to get offended, but it's the same thing when someone that is like clearly very overweight says that they are happy being overweight and fat.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I was, strangely enough, our mutual friend, Vittorio, right?
Yeah.
He came down with his girlfriend last weekend to Delta because she's looking into getting into PT, just wanted some advice. And then I said to her, I was like, if you got any questions or whatever, just drop me a message on Instagram and I'm happy to help you out. But she's like, I don't have Instagram. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have Instagram? She's like probably 25, 26. and she's like, well, I deleted it 2 years ago. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, she just couldn't be bothered. She was just getting like, just feeling anxious. You're just not feeling right because you post the pictures. You're like, how many people are going to like it? I've been there. Who hasn't been there? You post a picture that thinks really good and does like really bad. You just get like really annoyed. And think about it. Like, it's just a freaking picture of yourself. Like, get over yourself. You're not that special. It's just a picture of you. No one's that special. And I feel like everyone's thinking that they're the shit nowadays. Sorry for my language, but that's what everyone thinks nowadays. They think they're above everyone else and they're so amazing. And I was like that. I'm not even going to say I'm not. I wasn't. But I'm a bit over myself. I'm just like, okay, great. So you got a six pack and you got decent physique. So what? Like, just move on. Like, this is not what life is about. And when she said she deleted it, I was just like, a lot of respect for that, for admitting that to yourself. That it wasn't making you happy. You deleted it and you stuck with it. I was just like, that's really good. I was like, I've got to respect that. I was just,
yeah. It's very rare nowadays.
It's very rare. And the constant like comparing. I think people say they don't compare their lives to other people's life. Maybe consciously, but you get off Instagram and then you like go back to work, whatever, you're on your lunch break and you're like, shit, everyone's on holiday. Everyone's enjoying their life on my feed. Everyone looks amazing. Everyone's shredded. Everyone's driving Lamborghinis and, everyone's an influencer trying to sell me this influencer plan and all that stuff. And I'm here at McDonald's just, grafting away. And it just makes you feel shit about yourself. So why would you want to make yourself feel shit constantly,
I remember seeing this very, very interesting and insightful post about 2 years ago. It was posted by a PT or someone in the fitness industry. And there was actually a research made upon the fact that whenever you're looking through your Instagram, especially stories, like with stories, I think this applies 100%. Let's say that you're following a rough amount of like 400, 500 people. If you are to divide that with like how many days there are in a month and like how many people are actually going somewhere nice, you would see that absolutely every single day there would be at least like 8 to 15 people that are enjoying themselves and are having a better day than yourself. Like, it's always going to be that way because there's always going to be someone who's on holiday and you're not, and you're always working. So obviously going on Instagram and seeing that, you're like, you're going to have a worse day after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just put it in context. It's what you just said. If you understand that that's what the stats are and people are on holiday and it's always going to happen, that's fine. But again, like, how are you getting any more ahead in where you want to be by looking at other people being on holiday? You know? And it might sound a bit hypocritical because when I go on holiday, I will post stuff on my holiday. But if someone looks at it, I'm like, great with that. I've got time on holiday to do it. So I will post it. I will story it, right? But you won't see me storying here. Oh, I've just done 15 sessions today and I had 2 meetings with this and follow up that with this and doing that and reading this. No, you don't see that kind of stuff because I'm doing it for myself. It's no one's business. It's my business. It's my personal thing about me. And me looking at other people doing that stuff, it's not going to get me motivated or get any help. In fact, sometimes some people will post all these things and then you think you're not doing enough and then you feel shit about yourself. Like, you can win. So you just stay away from it and just keep your eye on the bigger picture and just, have perspective on it.
Yeah. Laszlo, I feel like we can go on and on with this podcast forever, but I'm just going to address you the last question. Just take your time answering to it. So imagine that you are on your deathbed. So you are about to die. And right next to you is the best version of yourself looking at you. So basically you see and comprehend what you could have become. How would you feel about yourself and about your life in that specific moment?
I would say, if I didn't try and I didn't do things and I didn't fail or succeed at things and I just let my life be without any efforts and, just live a normal life, as you sort of want to call it, I would probably have regrets if I didn't do that. But if I know deep down that I've done everything I could, I'd be like, I'm happy with what I've done. Like, if I could have done more, I would have done more probably. So I don't think there's more that I could have done if I have tried. If I genuinely have no regrets, which I haven't so far, not really. I don't think I have regrets because I learned from every mistake I've made. There's no point regretting it if I've learned from it, right? So if there is a better version of myself there, and that's because I didn't make certain choices and I was lazy and I wasn't bothered and stuff, I'll be probably annoyed. But again, I'll be probably dying. So I think in a few minutes, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I really love your answer because we can always raise up the bar so you can always do more and become a better version of yourself. So you just got to be not necessarily content, but you got to acknowledge yourself for what you have done because there's always room for improvement.
Of course there is, but it's never going to be perfect. Like launching a business, I see day in and day out people talking about launching a business, and we get so caught up talking about it to be ready. Pascu, were you at our opening party?
No, I haven't.
Okay, but you came, I think, the following day, right? We were literally just open, right? We didn't have any dumbbells, we didn't have our towels there. We had so many things that were missing, but it was just never going to. There's never a right time to do something. There's never a right time to get into shape, or break up from a relationship that's not functioning, or start reading a book. There isn't a perfect time for anything, right? So I think as long as you just do things and get on with it, you do the things that you want to do, then how can you regret things? Like if you're doing it, if you're not doing it, well, that's on you. Right? Again, that's your choices. And if you're dying, and I can see why people have regrets, that's perfectly understandable. But I think if you've done everything you think that you could do to your abilities, I think it's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's worth mentioning that there's never a perfect moment to start anything or to open a business, get into a relationship. Is never going to be the perfect time.
Doing this podcast is not, it's just never the right time for it. I could have come off for excuses. I got this to do, got that to do, but I was like, I really want to do it. I'm going to find the time to do it, and I come and do it. There's not a right time. There's not a perfect time. I'm sure for you guys, when you started the first time, I'm sure the very first podcast you've done was, I don't want to say it was really bad, but I'm sure it wasn't as good quality as your most recent podcast, right?
No, you're right.
So,
they were awful.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and that's why I spoke to you before about getting in front of camera. For me, that was such a big step, but again, it just practice. I was just getting, by the 15th time we shot something, I was way better than the first time. So I think you just got to do things. There's no right time. You just got to forget about this right time. And no, you just got to do it. And whatever, you just do it. That's it. Yeah.
100%. Laszlo, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for sharing all the values with our audience. And now I think it's the perfect moment for you to mention where can people find you if they are based in London and they want to work with you, or if you can provide them anything online, any service, just mention it now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. And
our pleasure.
Having my first podcast with you guys is actually an honor. So thank you very much for thinking of me and inviting me on. And for people that are interested in anything I've got to say, or training or whatever, you can find me on Instagram at Laszlo Baritz, on Facebook. And if you are interested in PT and you are in Canary Wharf, you want to train with the best trainers in London, or at least East London. I don't want to say we're the very best, but we're definitely up there. I'm just being humble, not because we're not the very best, but I'm just being humble. We're in Canary Wharf, Data Fitness London. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Thank you so
much again. It was our pleasure. And I'm completely sure that our audience got a lot of value out of this podcast. So thank you so much again. And until next time, stay grateful. Take care.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.